My guest today is Jade Joyner, co-founder of the design firm Metal Petal, which has offices in Athens, Georgia and Charleston, South Carolina. Jade is next up in our Think Like a Designer series, where we look at photos of her projects and tease apart everything she's taking into consideration as she makes particular design decisions. Today we're talking about the choices Jade makes about shape and materials, about how to enhance the flow from one room to another, and developing a backstory, a visual narrative to create a sense of time and place that's really specific and personalized. If you want to follow along while we're looking at the photos together, you can watch this on our YouTube channel at Slow Style Home, or you can go to our website, slowstylehome.com, click on podcasts, and check out the photos that way. Here's Jade. Jade Joyner, welcome to the Slow Style Home podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
We're going to go through some photos of your work, but
Sure.
before we do that, tell us a little bit about your approach, your philosophy, what you think is important when you're considering any new project.
I'm a second generation interior designer. So my mother is a designer. She had a business in Dothan, Alabama and in California. And I grew up around beautiful collected things. I lived in Europe most of my life, and she
Wow.
did design work in Europe as well. So a lot of my taste comes from my history, my background, what I've been exposed to. I did not grow up in Pottery Barn or Ashley Furniture. My mother
Yeah.
had a lot of her pieces made. Everything was is still very special. I really love interiors that tell stories.
Mm.
I like spaces that are very bespoke and custom. I don't like the trends, the HGTV trends that all designers really don't like, of just this blanket look. You have one beautiful life or one life, and you should make it beautiful.
Mm.
And that starts with your interior at home, and it extends to your office space and how you live and what environment you create there as well. So my philosophy is to mix old with new, treasures with kind of interesting and playful elements. I love controversial pieces. I'm all about a balance. That's really my philosophy, is nothing too hard, nothing too soft, nothing too feminine, finding that perfect balance. And with commercial work, I extend that into creating more residential style commercial spaces that tell the story of your brand. When you walk into someone's home, I feel like you should feel who they are and
Yes.
feel their soul. And so I believe in layered elements and spaces with soul.
Yes. And I think I'm glad you brought that up because I think that on the podcast, we really, I don't care if it's minimalist or maximalist or modern or traditional or very vintage. As long as it's telling a story. And also, you touched on wanting to get away from, you called it the blanket look, which I really like. I usually just say it's generic looking, which I feel like people struggle with but how to do that elegantly or how to do that in a way that doesn't look like it's just a mess, how to make sure that things are mixing together in a way that is still quite beautiful. Yeah. So we're
I,
going to look at a couple of your
Mhm.
spaces. I think you're going to see the mix. And I pulled out some specific design principles that I want to talk to you about, things like shape and scale and stuff like that. But I think we're also going to be talking about the mix. So
Yeah.
let's jump in.
Let's do it. And I think the mix is hard. I'll be honest with you. Some days I'm like, oh, it'd be so much easier if I just did interiors that everything matched and went
Yes.
together, and all the materials were the same color and the same fabric, and oh,
Right.
it'd just be so chic and elegant. And that would be easy. But number one, I don't like easy. And number two, that doesn't interest me. It just doesn't interest me. I think that mixing it up and doing it in a way that it's not heavy handed, you can get very heavy handed in the mix,
Yeah.
is where the art really exists.
Cool. Let's jump in. Let's look at this first project of yours. And what really struck me was the different shapes that were going on throughout, and how that, to me, made the room feel very alive and interesting. I'm just showing this photo to give everyone sort of a lay of the land of what we're looking at here. And for those of you that are just watching on YouTube, we've got on the right-hand side, we've got, are they built-ins?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful wood built-in shelving with a little bit of cupboards on the bottom. And then in the back, on the back wall is a banquette that's up against the windows. And then middle of the room, we've got a couch that's facing more bookshelves where a TV is. And then in the front of your screen, you would see the round dining table with chairs around it. So that's just the basic floor plan. But let's move on to talking about some of the details here. We're looking at a shot of the built-in bookcases, as I just mentioned, and I am looking at all of the different shapes that I see here, and it's really helping my eye go up and down and around, and it's keeping things really interesting. What about this composition did you love putting together the most, or what do you want to tell us about this
Yeah.
side of the room, which is really dominated by these built-ins?
This was one of my favorite projects as of this year. I love this family, and they had a real struggle with this room. It's a
Okay.
huge space. Of course, in photos and video, scale is often
Yeah.
hard to grasp. So the first challenge that we had was the layout. And I know that they wanted something very high end. So this bookcase is actually built out of walnut. It's
Beautiful.
absolutely stunning. It was made by
Yeah.
a local craftsman that I adore. And in this composition, this photo, what really struck me was her painting. She had this beautiful piece of art, and she's a potter. She loves
Oh,
pottery. She's actually in Italy right now, taking another, I think her third pottery course.
oh, how fun
Um,
for her.
oh my gosh, it's wonderful. She's just a very artistic kind of craft artisan person.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to lean into that, but keep it elevated. So
Yep.
by adding in these very elongated, hammered brass sconces on this big, beautiful, luxurious walnut piece, her gorgeous piece of art that was made by a local artist, it's a little more illustrated and I would say has a lot of white space to it as well and
Yep.
crafty feeling. That really set the kind of toned everything down. So
Yeah.
part of the balance, in my opinion, is making sure you don't go either too highbrow, too elevated where it feels unapproachable, and you layer in elements that make it feel like we've got this kind of, I think it's an Egyptian piece I found,
Mhm.
vessel with underneath the painting that also feels old world. And then we've got this noir piece over in the right corner that I call the germ. It's probably not really called the germ, but it's a very spiky sculptural piece.
Is it
And
a bowl or is it just a,
it's a decorative object.
okay,
And I
okay.
had two of them, and God, I hated giving them
I
away
bet
or
they're
selling
so
them to
cool.
her, but they're so cool. And I think mixing in kind of this Egyptian pottery piece with this very kind of pottery inspired artistic painting
Yeah.
and this great contemporary white element really mixed all this and balanced all this out. And then we
Yes.
added a little bit of glass, of course. I really believe in mixing materials. It's something people
Hmm.
talk about, but it's really quite hard, at least for me, is making sure that you're mixing in, all the different things. I wanted metal, I wanted pottery, I wanted some terracotta. And then she had these very delicate on the middle shelf floral candlesticks that she
Hmm.
really wanted to use. And I thought that was quite nice and brought in a good color from the painting and kind of mixed it all together. So
Yeah.
we've got some contemporary pieces, we've got some elongated pieces, we've got different shapes, we've got some curves. And I think that's really nice up against this really beautifully made cabinet.
Yeah. This shot right here really I felt was so stunning and I couldn't wait to talk with you about it. And then we're going to continue looking at the room. So now you see it in context and it is behind the couch, the seating area and the dining area. And now you get a sense of the scale of this sconce that Jade is attached to the outside of the built-in. It's so long. It's really cool. It's like you said, it's definitely got a hand hammered quality, but I also like the shape of it. It's not perfect, right? It looks a little bit more organic.
Absolutely. A little
And
more
then, okay,
artisan. Yeah.
yeah. So now let's look at the seating area a little bit more closely and tell us about this. Love the color of that couch and also the shape of these two coffee tables that are pushed together to make one coffee table. So tell us about the mood and the feeling that you're going for here. It definitely is including that painting for sure. It's pulling from the painting.
Absolutely. And again, mixing materials. So these kind of organic shaped coffee tables were marble. And it was fun to play with them because you can really shape them or form them in any way you want. So they can touch each other, a layer on top, or they can be more exaggerated and pulled out. And in this room, I really like them like overlapping a little bit. And then I love the depth of this chocolate velvet brought to the room. I thought with the walnut cabinet, and blue is one of my favorite colors. I use blue in almost every room that I design. I think it's just such a workable color.
Mm.
So I wanted to add in a little bit of blue. I love the blue with the chocolate, the walnut, and the white. And then, of course, this very organic stool that I wanted to make sure we use. Again, it brings the room down. And what I mean by that, I don't mean bring down the height. I mean, it takes it away from feeling so fussy. It feels a
Yes.
little more natural.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And the stool is, I don't know if it is a tree stump or it's mimicking a tree stump, but that's what it looks like to me.
Yes. And you
Yeah.
can turn it in different ways. And I really like that you could see some of the grain here and kind
Right.
of some of it etched out. One of the one of the elements that I think people forget about in their interiors, or maybe they don't lean into enough, is play.
Okay.
You have to have a little play. Everything being so serious is no fun at all.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Literally.
a ball pillow. She has 5 children and they throw this ball pillow around the
I
room.
bet.
And having the different mix of materials as well. We've got an indoor outdoor fabric on the window seat. And we've got some linen. I love linen and velvet. That's one of my favorite combinations. But just having some elements that are a little bit more whimsical.
Yeah. Yeah. The next couple of pictures were panning to the left around the room, and now you can see the same marble coffee tables, but we're looking at them from a different angle, and we're looking straight at the second built-in, which is very different. It's just a very simple white built-in bookcase. It looks completely different than the other one, which I like. I like that they're not the same. But we're also looking at a TV. So I have to ask, what is your personal preference on where to put TVs? And sometimes you have to just give into what the client wants if it's not what you would suggest. But I think this one is a pretty good solution because it's not over a fireplace, it's just in the built-ins.
I'm a practical designer. So real life is they have 5 children and they're going to watch movies in here. And this is a rather large house and they have a movie room, but this is their day-to-day living room. And they're going to watch movies. They're going to probably have video games underneath those consoles. It's real life. We
Yeah.
need to all stop avoiding, oh, a TV. Yes. Now in my formal, what I call my formal room, I don't have a television. I have a
Mhm.
music player and things like that. And we do our celebrations in there. But in this room, they wanted a television. And so I thought this was a really nice way to incorporate it.
Yeah.
I'm not anti the frame TVs. They're done a lot. They just
Yep.
happen to have this TV, so I did not add a frame to it. But I like the use of the wallpaper. It's beautiful. It's very organic in shape behind it. I wasn't trying to camouflage the television. We talked about putting doors on this piece. Practically for their lives, it did not make sense. She was like,
Mhm.
I'm never going to close the doors.
Yeah.
She's not
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah.
We did not do that. And then I just wanted to keep the styling pretty simple, warmer in this area, colorful, and a little younger. But the truth about televisions is they are a part of our worlds.
Yep.
And when a client does request it, I'm not going to go against it. We'll talk about how we can make it look and work the best in the room, but we do have to be realistic.
What's so nice about the way you've laid out the room is that it's not a focal point. You don't walk in, it's
Exactly.
not the first thing, it's tucked away. And yet, the way you've got the couch facing it, you're still facing the TV in a way that's comfortable for TV watching. You've got two chairs that are facing the couch. Are they swivel?
Yes, they
They're
are.
swivel, so they can swivel around to look at the TV as well. But it's just a really nice, I think, use of this space where it's not all about the TV. And yet, if you want to watch TV, it's quite comfortable. And going back to shape for just a second here, I just want to mention so you can really see the interesting shape of the coffee table on the left-hand photo. But on the right-hand photo, you really see the shape of these barrel chairs that are just, I just love the curve around the arm. And it looks like it's very easy to navigate your way through this part of the room. I think because everything is there's no hard edges.
Exactly. And with 5 children, That's what you
Yeah.
need. There's kids throwing balls around this room. They have
Yeah.
puzzles everywhere. They have one daughter out of five children, and so she's always in the fairy princess things. And so I wanted everything to have soft edges,
Yeah.
soft corners. They're also young kids, which so that's important to know.
Okay.
And when designing for families, those are things I always like to consider. A glass top table would have never worked for them.
Yeah.
And I actually like using heavy pieces. Like I learned this from doing a project in Athens, a hotel in Athens. I like using heavy pieces sometimes so that people actually can't move them. So pieces, these marble
No,
tables.
those marble tables, they cannot move them. No. Yeah. Or the chairs probably. So that's a really good point. And here we just see a detail because if your eye keeps going to the left, then you're now in the dining eating area, and that's where the fireplace is. So that's so
Yes,
nice. You didn't put the TV on top of the fireplace. It's more tucked away. I
right.
just think it all makes so much sense in terms of the layout. And I just wanted to note again, all the shapes we're seeing, you've got this really strong rectangle of is it a granite surround for the fireplace?
Yes, it is a marble and it's stunning, very contemporary.
Yep.
And this is actually their game table. So their dining
Okay.
table
Okay.
is in a completely different area. And
Yep.
I laid out this room 11 times before we finalized
Oh,
it in my head. I only showed them one, but
wow.
just because I wanted to think about how they would live. They do puzzles. Um,
Yeah.
they have family game night here. And
Yeah.
again, like you said, you hit the nail on the head right there. The TV's in the room. It's functional. It's
Right.
not focus of the room.
Oh, what a great idea to have a game table, especially when you've got kids. Honestly, we spend so much time playing games with our kids in
And
an effort to get
homework.
them off the screen, right?
Yes, exactly,
So
exactly.
it's nice to have a designated space for that. I just really loved the whole feel of that room. And now we're going to move on to a different project. And this is another, I think, really fun one. And what I liked about this, and I've tried to put the photos in the right order, again, is how your eyes are going to move across the room and then into the next room and then into the room after that. So there's this really wonderful flow. And I know that you've got some repeating colors going on, but I think there's more to it than that. So here we are looking at, we're facing the fireplace. This is definitely the seating area. The chairs are facing each other. Here we do have a TV in front of the fire, on top of the fireplace. But before we move on to the next photo, which is going to show a different angle of this room, is there anything you want to talk about in terms of this setup?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite families in Athens. She wanted to use materials that she wasn't that are not precious, that
Okay.
she's not worried about. And her boys sit in those chairs together and they build Legos and she
Yeah.
has cartoons on in the mornings
Yep.
and
I love this moss green color that we're going to see
mm,
more of. And also this huge chandelier. I love the scale of how big that is. And it's very kind of glam. And then other things are a little bit more glam and a little bit older.
yes.
And the crystals make it look vintage. But then you've got some mid-century kind of lines going on. And so there's a really nice play there. And like I said, this is now a different view of the room with a close-up of one of the built-in bookcases. And I'm just really loving the sparse amount of color and how, I don't know, it just feels very comfortable. I
It is
actually
very
don't like that
comfortable.
word because I think it's a bland word. It's not very descriptive, but I can't come up with a better one.
Yeah, approachable, maybe.
Great.
Yeah, that's what I would actually call this whole project is it's very approachable. The coffee table is metal. The coffee table between the two chairs is actually a faux marble because
Okay.
again, we're talking about little boys and
Okay.
I want my boys to be boys and have fun and play.
Uh-huh.
We use things that if they're spilled on, if their stickers are stuck to them, we are not crying. But
Yep.
yes, got a great looking chandelier that she absolutely adored that kind of made the space feel a little more glamorous. But we've
Mhm.
got practical materials styled in a way that aren't too precious. It's very approachable. And I love this project.
Yeah.
And we want to add curtains eventually.
Okay, yeah. So that's so this is something that I firmly believe, and everybody who listens has heard me say this a lot. Style evolves.
It
It
does.
it it looks great right now. That doesn't mean it's done.
Right.
Probably never going to be done because we're always changing.
And I think your homes have to evolve. I even tell my clients, we're going to get to a point and you're going to be like, oh, this looks great. I feel like I'm done. And then in a couple years, you're going
Yep.
to say, hey, I want you to bring in some new pieces. I want you to come in here and shift this living room around.
Yep.
I'm thinking of adding in a different countertop because your taste evolved, you
Right.
evolve, and your home is you, and or it should be at least.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. All right. So let's keep looking around the room, pretending like we're standing in it. And now we are facing, oh, we're turned absolutely around. We're facing away from the TV and into the kitchen. And I wanted to bring up this piece of art over on the left-hand side that also has black in it. It has this olive green in it, which you've picked up in the furniture in the sitting area with these really pretty olive or moss, I'm not sure what you call it, green chairs. And then you start to get into the black when we see and the white when we go into the kitchen.
Yeah, this piece was important to her because she's the only female in the house. And
Oh,
she feels it some days. And
yeah.
now that I've become a friend of hers, I want my space to be beautiful just because I have wild young boys. It
Yeah.
can't be beautiful. So she had this piece framed and I loved it in here. And I thought it just brought a little feminine touch right before you enter into the kitchen where the cabinets are black and things like that. It just brings a little femininity to the space.
Yes.
It's a great piece.
Yes. And now we're also seeing the couch, and I want to ask, what is that fabric? Because it's white, and we're talking about practicality with kids.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cream.
It's just a washable linen and sprayed, all that. At this point in my career, I'm spraying and we use a green product for everything. I spray the drapes, the rugs, because people want to live in
Yeah.
their homes. They don't want these precious interiors like your grandmother, your great grandmother had where you couldn't go into the rooms because you're
Yeah.
afraid to spill.
Right. So you
So,
said it's a green product. Do you mean
yeah,
environmentally friendly?
it's environmentally friendly. It was made for Norwegian cruise lines. Um,
Oh,
And so it's, of course, it's not super cheap to spray everything, but it's worth it. It lasts, I think it's 11 different washes it lasts. And
oh,
I'm always so thankful for clients who do it because immediately when you offer someone a white couch, they spill red wine or something
of
on
course.
it.
Yes.
And it does come out. It does come out.
But it looks so good, especially in this part of the room. I think it really, and then you've got these really beautiful burl wood tables on either side of the couch. So you've got this nice natural element to this not restricted, restrained color palette of white, black, and this moss green. But then you've got this really nice wood element. And we're going through the kitchen, and then we come to okay, now you can see from the back, turning around back toward the TV area again. But this fantastic bench that is been upholstered, there all of a sudden there's more interest again. So we there's so much to look at in the living area. And then the kitchen is gets very, it's like it's about business here. We're getting down, we're cooking here, right? But then there's a
Right.
couple of little things that go, oh, but that's really interesting, the floor, the hood, and this bench. So, which of those elements do you want to talk about first?
The floor is all my husband. This was my idea. I saw this somewhere and I wanted to do it. And our floor refinisher, who's amazing, he looked at me and he goes, "No way, I'm not doing it." And
Describe what it is for people who are just listening.
so it's a checkered board floor. And the checkerboard is just made out of basically staining every other checker. So one is light and one is dark. And we've done it in a diamond pattern to look like a traditional black and white checkered board floor.
But it's all wood. So it's
All
got a
wood.
very natural, warm look to it. It's really quite stunning.
It's stunning and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare to scale it out and lay it out, but he did it.
Yeah.
And then we stained it and it looks amazing and it adds interest without being too overwhelming. I think it's really classic. And
Mhm.
I think what makes this space, black cabinetry can be a little controversial. Black appliances can be a little controversial. Of course, a brass hood, which the brass hood was handmade by a local artisan, can be a little contemporary. So I think having these kind of more traditional European inspired checkerboard floors really kept it a little more classic.
Yeah, I agree. And on that point, and I know this is not there all the time, but you've got a ginger jar sitting on top of the little eat-in kitchen table. And then you've got a convex mirrored candle holder sconce on the wall, both of which are feel very much more old world with this sleek marble countertops. And by the way, Jade, you keep saying black cabinets, but it's just on the bottom. The white cabinet, the
Yes,
Top cabinets are white.
the uppers are all white and
Mhm.
the base cabinets are all black. And I loved it because I loved this stone for them so much. It just had so much movement, and this kitchen is very small. I felt like they needed some interest.
Absolutely.
Then the chairs that are around the breakfast table are actually indoor outdoor because we have real life and we have stains and spills, and they're comfortable. They have little seats, but they're wipeable, they're
Okay.
stackable.
Okay.
They look
Perfect.
great. They have a little bit of a sculptural arm to them, which I love. And then the little banquette, which is on one side of the oval table, is a sunbrella. And then we added in, like you said, those old world elements with these great sconces and this beautiful mirror, and then a brass pendant to tie in together with the hood.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm going to go back to the looking into the kitchen from the living space. Like I said, the living space, there's a lot of texture going on. You've got the brick of the fireplace, you've got the velvet chairs, you've got the crystal, big, huge, round crystal chandelier, you've got the oriental rug that's underfoot. There's a lot going on. And yet I would say a lot of the visual busyness, which is even not that's not even the right word because that implies it's busy sounds like a bad thing, which it's not, but it's in like the third bottom of the room. If we were to separate the room horizontally into three layers, it's in the bottom third. And so the upper two-thirds are just airy. But I'm losing my train of thought here. My point is that there's all this visual stuff going on in the living room, and then you turn and you look at the kitchen, and it becomes much less busy, but it draws your eye, especially the movement of the marble draws your eye to keep going until you get to this quaint striped banquette.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I wanted. You hit the nail on the head. I wanted to
Good.
draw you in.
Yeah. And then we keep going again. And I love this part. All of a sudden, the door opens. And is this a mudroom or a bathroom?
This is their laundry room.
This is our laundry room. Okay. So now you see how the color, this green is being pulled all the way from the living room, all the way through the kitchen and into the mudroom, and this fabulous pear tree wallpaper that I absolutely love. So it's a mudroom? Oh no, you said it's a laundry room.
It's really both. It has a little bench. We put a bench in there for the boys and their storage and some hooks. And on the other side is the washer and dryer. But I love when you have the door open because I figured the door's going to be open a lot.
Yeah.
And you have this playful pop of color and print and pattern. And it's just really happy.
Yes. And look at the bolster. You've got this cool mustard colored bolster that's got like black and white. I don't know if they're tigers or zebras or whatever on
Yeah.
them, but even that, it plays into the yellow that we're about to see in these pear or lemon trees. I guess they're pears. Um,
Yes.
But yeah, I just think this is a really good lesson in flow from one end of the house to the other. We're going through different spaces. So I really love that.
And
Now,
I talk
this,
a lot about with my clients about connective tissue. So we're not making the red room, the brown room, the green room. All of your spaces need to connect. Connective tissue is something that is, I find, really important in home design.
I love that phrase. Now, there's more to come in terms of connecting all of these rooms together because notice again the green. So she's got green all the way in the living room and the upholstered furniture. We see green in these trees, these topiary trees in the wallpaper. And then I think this is maybe a butler's pantry or something. Look at those gorgeous moss colored built-ins for this, I guess, a butler's area.
This was so fun because it was a closet and they had it just chock full of things. And so I said, listen, y'all love coffee. Y'all are mixologists, if that's a word anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let's make a space that you can really make your beautiful cups of coffee and you can have your beautiful glasses on display. And so we took out the closet doors and this pass through hallway into the
Yeah.
dining room and made this kind of a little butler's pantry or scullery.
Oh my gosh, it's adorable. And what a great use of that space. I'm sure they were, wow, we would have never thought of turning a closet into this little pantry. So I think that's so sweet.
It's so sweet. And I think one of the talking about connective tissue is that we were able to echo the countertop in this space as well. So it really connects the kitchen to this hallway bar area
Yep.
and brings it all together.
Yep, absolutely. And back to the floor in the kitchen real quick, because I'm just showing a picture of it again. I can see somebody doing a black and white tile because everything is black and white. And what a shame that would have been, because the warmth of the wood floor is makes the room so much more interesting. So glad you did that.
It's so
Yeah.
beautiful in person
Yeah.
too. Again, quite a challenge to make happen, but we did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not for the faint of heart.
No, not for the faint of heart.
All right. And then this last project I want to talk about, it's one of your commercial projects, and it's
Yeah.
a barber shop. It's unlike any barber shop I've ever seen. And what I got out of it was that I knew when I saw these photos, I knew exactly who it was for, the type of person. I knew what they were going to be doing there, not just getting their haircut. And I got a sense that it was of a certain time, of a certain era. So I want you to talk to us about it and maybe even share, was there a mood board? Like, how did you go from creating a vision to then making specific design examples? And do you think I should just flip through photos as you're talking?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So what are
So
we looking at here? This is just a window. It's a high window when you first walk in.
yeah, it's a high window and this mixed use space. We are actually the design firm for this mixed use space in Athens. When we met these clients, they were just cool. He just had a cool haircut, he had cool tattoos, they were entrepreneurs, and they were like, we want this kind of really London inspired, but works in Athens, Georgia barbershop.
Yeah.
And so they
Yeah.
started sending us some ideas and things like that. And so the way that we start is we are usually inspired commercially by the brand. And
Okay.
so we really dove into who is going to this barbershop on the
Right.
Sundays.
Like I said, I could picture immediately who's going to this barbershop.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Like my husband went to this barbershop. He's in his 40s. He wants to have a cocktail when he walks in. He wants the right type of music on. It's a vibe. So we wanted something that really drew from London, from England, from pubs that we were inspired by there, from gentlemen's clubs. But because this couple was so cool and their brand was so cool, we wanted to make it a little bit more contemporary. But I would say the anchor of this space was this found piece, which was a bar. And we used it as their kind of their cash wrap, their checkout
The
desk.
checkout. Yeah. Yeah.
And we found it in Atlanta, and it was made, I believe, in the 1940s. And we called the client, we said, it is not cheap, but
Uh-huh.
this is going to be your piece that really sets the tone. And they
Yes.
immediately fell in love and immediately bought it and
Yep.
it set the tone. It's a very ornate carved piece. And it just has that wonderful European feel to it and this kind of cold shell.
Mm.
Then we knew that we wanted to add trim because all of our inspiration on our mood board had all these beautiful places that were full of just stunning trim.
Yeah, like you would find in any old home or old tavern or anything. People had trim.
Yeah, library. We wanted
Yeah,
a little bit of
library.
a library look.
Def
But we washed the space in a black paint color, which really set quite a mood. You
Mhm.
walked in and you were just like, whoa, this is cool. I want to be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
We added in more contemporary furniture pieces, those sculptural chairs in green velvet, and this kind of funky, he's one of my favorite stools. I believe he's from Noir, which is a face stool. And then we added in some vintage pieces that took us a while, over about a year to collect. Paintings of gentlemen, interesting bottles. I believe this client was really into Japanese whiskeys.
Mhm.
So we collected some Japanese whiskey bottles. Always, I believe in adding plants. I think living things in
Yes.
the space is so important. But really not just shopping for your accessories at your local store, really thrifting them, finding them, curating them. And of course, we had a blast styling this beautiful space.
Of course. You've got this great mural that is on the wall, and I love that you have sconces that are on top of the mural. And that also sets a great tone. It's a bucolic scene. It looks very 1800s, a big, huge landscape in amongst all of the black walls with the gorgeous trim. I totally can see hanging out here, having a drink before or after a haircut
Yeah.
and chatting with people. It's really, like I said, sense of place. I know who's going to be there. I know why they're there and what they're going to be doing. And I know where they are in time, which I really liked.
And I like this picture specifically that you've pulled because you can see the balance. So you've got this kind of European inspired organic scene with these very sculptural, almost brutalist
Mm,
style sconces that are metal.
yep.
And so that juxtaposition is just super sexy to me. There's a little bit of a mix there. So the leather sofas are worn, but then we've got like a hammered metal leg that's a pencil leg with it. So that juxtaposition is really what it's all about.
Yeah. It has all of these older references, but it's like someone came in and they said, I want to honor what has come before me, but I'm going to put my little contemporary spin on it. And I think it's perfect for this particular barbershop. That's the kind of person that's going to want to get their haircut here.
Yes.
And so I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much. And I would say also, I'm not trying in doing spaces like this, we're not trying to recreate something. We're inspired by spaces. I'm inspired by London. I've been 15 times. I'm
Mhm.
inspired by Europe, but I'm not trying to recreate an English pub.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would call a theme.
No themes.
No themes.
No
We're not
themes.
doing themes. So this is the
No.
difference. Jade, it's been really fun to talk with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your work.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had so much fun.